Hi, Charlyne. Nice to meet
I
you. I'm your mock interviewer. My question for you today is, tell me about three technologies that you think will change the world and why.
okay, thank you for this prompt. Let me just confirm the prompt. So it's the three technology that I think will change the world. Um, I want to ask some clarifying question to help me better understand this situation. So by technology, is there like is there any limits in the technology that I should consider, or it's
No,
like very general?
I'm down for you to talk about software, hardware, or even non-tech industry, whatever like technology you are interested in and you want to tell me about. I'm all ears.
Okay. And by change the world, do we have any time limit for that? Like in 5 years or in like 10 years?
No.
Okay. Um, okay, that's a really interesting prompt. I think I'll take a few minutes to think about the technology that come to my mind, but I think my overall framework would be I will talk about what I think the world will be in probably just 5 years, I think. Probably 10 years, 10 years. And then I'll name three technology that I think will change the world and explain each of them, like why it will change the world.
Sounds good.
That is great. Okay. Overall, I just want to share my thought on what I think the world will be in 10 years. So I have a very abstract and high level thought on this. I think the world of like or like the way people interact with the external environment and AI will change a lot. So right now, I think we are at a very early stage of interacting with AI and those like chatbot like agent. But I think in the future, the interface will be really, really smooth and even disappear in a way that we cannot feel we are using AI actively. We just like it just smoothly integrate into our life that can help us frictionlessly and smoothly do a lot of things. And specifically, I think that should be accomplished by two major things. The first is AI will be in a form that deeply like integrated in every aspect of life, like the ambient computing concept, kind of like that. And that kind of require both software and hardware or like physical effort to do that. And the other major thing that I think is really important is the AI will knows you really well. So that it kind of keep a memory of each user and you don't have to like inform the AI like what you're going to do, like what's your background, what's your goal. It can like consume all your information from like different platform and synthesize to form a view of you so that when you interact with that agent or that AI, you don't have to kind of demonstrate a lot of the context and like your personalization data input every time. And right now, I think these two aspects are still left a large headroom for like future development. So I think yeah, like I said, the world will change to like a very smooth interface between no the world. So like in the future world, the human will interact with external environment and AI in a very smooth and frictionless way. Do you have any question of this?
No, I think we share the same world.
Okay, thank you for sharing the same role with me. Then I think right now I will name three major technology that I think will change the world through either of the way that I just mentioned. And after that, I'll delve specifically into the first technology and then think about how that exactly can make it happen. So the three technology that come to my mind is first home mini robotics. So I think right now there are a lot of things that people have to do in their home that wastes a lot of time and a lot of people doesn't like don't enjoy doing this. And I think home is also a place where you can like really freely or like carelessly use technology or like physical product compared to when you're in the external world, like when you're on the street, right? So you actually have a lot of freedom using that. And I think home mini robotics can help can evolve to be more like smoother and frictionless for people to really use it. And then it requires the physical product, like physical AI development. And the second technology that come to my mind is like deep multi-platform or multi-sources memory system for that AI for different AI agent, but there's like only one single source of memory in the future to my imagination that it can share that memory to different agent that you interact with so that they don't have to hold that memory for you, but they can like consult that one memory source who knows like everything about you. And the third technology that I think is like wearable glasses. I think right now we are actually at the very, very early stage of wearable glasses, right? Like only to my understanding, only like Meta Ray-Ban glasses are like kind of popular, but very limited in a very limited way. But I think in the future, the glasses will be really useful when people interact with the external world. And it doesn't have to be like a glasses, like actually like a frame glasses. It can be even like a context or more integrated or more frictionless way. And yeah, so the three technology I name is home mini robotics, like a real deep memory system and wearable glasses.
Mhm. Why do you think the memory system could change the world?
Um, Let me just think for a minute.
Mm.
I think I will just approach this issue to in the framework that I will first break down to how memory systems serve or like why people hire this memory system to do some job. And then I'll also talk about like how that system look like for both business and individual consumer. So firstly, I think people need a memory system like I said like a very deep like universal or like synthesized memory system. Firstly, they want to record. They want to be recorded by that system so that they don't have to like record everything relevant to them. For example, maybe I receive from information from Gmail today that's relevant to my grade or that's relevant to my courses, but I don't want to manually put that into the records of all my academic information. So I want this memory system to just like me, like it take a look of the email and then it records the information that's relevant to me. And second, I think the second job to be done of this memory system is to store the data. And that in that way, that means for individual that you can access everything relevant to you in one place. Um, and it have very meaningful and accessible way of presenting those information. So you have a very organized way to access that. So how will that change the world? I think I just talk a lot about the user experience side, right? So I think the world will be deeply affected first from the record perspective. So in the record perspective, a lot of people will be laid off, I think, because a lot of people are doing a lot of documentation work and recording work. And also a lot of startups are doing different ways of recording or documenting work. But if there is like one central technology that kind of monitor everything, like the big eyes in your life but belong to you, I think the startup and people were gonna think like how they pivot like in the future. And the other way that the world will be changed is relevant to the storage. So that actually is so my ideal version of the memory system actually requires a huge amount of energy and storage. And currently the AI is already spurring a lot of fights and conflict of interest in the energy and like the really top foundational level of AI development level. And I think if we continuously require a significant amount of memory storage, like the energy and like chips, data storage will be like deeply changed, and also the stock market. So that's the way I think they will be relevant. The world superficially will be relevant to this memory system. Do you still want me to talk about like how's that look like for business or in consumer, or we can also answer other questions?
No, I think I understand what you mean by changing the world. It's interesting that you are thinking about changing the world not only from the positive side but also negative side as well. Um, and my follow-up question is, can you design a product using one of those technologies that you just mentioned, and maybe actually a product that could change the world, or to start with, let's just like you can brainstorm with me to think about how you want to design a product using these technologies to change the world.
Okay, sounds great. And by change world right now, you mean like a more positive change, right?
Well, it depends on you whether you want
Okay.
to like negatively change the world or positively. I'm with.
No, this is just a joke. Okay. I think I will choose to start with the home mini robotics question, because that's the primary reason is that I have a lot of interest and I have a lot of complaints about this area. And the other reason I think is that right now, the wearable glasses are the meat that's like bought by different large tech. And I don't think I have a play in it if I'm going to be a startup on that, but the home robotics is very like niche and early market. So I will choose this market to enter if I'm a startup. Although I think you didn't mention I'm a startup, but I would just assume I'm a startup that to start from zero. And yeah, I'll just take a few minutes to think about how I would incorporate that technology, translate that into like real solution that can genuinely serve what people need. And I just want to share my general framework of that. So I will first like talk about my understanding of the current home robotics market and like how's that look like, the alternative. And then I will break down some user segment that might potentially be benefit from this home robotics, and narrow down to the specific pain point that I want to solve. And then I will brainstorm some solution and think about how I would launch an MVP, and eventually how do I evaluate the success by measuring a different metric. Does it sound great?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just take a few moments. All right. I just want to share my overall understanding of this home robotics market. So I think overall the why people would need a home robotics, the primary reason is that they want to save their time and save their work, like their effort, and they want the robotic to replace their job and even do a better job compared to the human effort. And in terms of the current market, I think there are a lot of like a large variety of home robotics product, like some smart furniture, and also Google has like a like home system that can adjust like temperature, humidity, and there are also like smart cooker machine that if you put some like material in it, it can like cook for you. And there are also like swiping machine that like already appeared like 10 years ago, I think. So what's the problem here? Like, why do we still need to largely advance this product to change the world? So I think the primary problem is that it's still on the early market stage, even after like several years. And the core reason behind that, I think, is because firstly, it's too expensive to most of the family and people, and second, it's not smart enough in a way that sometimes it just feels so robotic and it doesn't help you. It kind of like interfere with your daily activity. And the third reason is that every it's not connected to any of the other product or digital platform that you have as a user. So you feel that this is like still an individual product that you have to spend a lot of efforts, train it, and get adapted to it. And you just don't feel a relief of life if you have the home robotic product. And there are some alternative for the home robotic, which is like human labor. And sometimes it's like you just do as a user, we do the work by ourselves. And sometimes we hire other to do that, like babysitter, or like a cleaner. So it's more costly in terms of money. If we can if we can reduce the cost of the home robotics. So human labor is obviously more expensive. So I think the goal of developing a better home robotics product is that firstly, we want it to be more like smarter and more connected to everything you have. It's kind of resonant with the memory system that I just said. Like I don't want to, as a user, I might not want to take care of every sort of home robotics individually. Like I'm take care of like a kindergarten. So I just want to everything to be connected. And second, I want this to be more accessible. But I wouldn't take that as the primary goal here because right now we're imagining the future. So who knows the future cost would be. And just to clarify, what I still want to target the early market, which is like the adopter who are willing to try out new technology, but I want to take it as I want to make it potentialized to be like everyone can use product, if that makes sense. And if you don't have other question, I'll just go to more details about the user that I want to serve and share about that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Oh, and just to clarify, so right now I still haven't chose like a very more specific technology inside like home robotic market, because I don't want to like limit my path to be like a single, so like single job or like single solution, like the swiping machine or like a cooker. So I'll still try to like convert gently or like brainstorm as much as possible at this stage and then narrow down in the later stage. In terms of the user segment, I want to break it down into four primary segment, and the first one is individual young people who live by themselves or who share space with like very few peers. For example, like a co-shared 2B room with another classmate. And that usually can approximately equal to the Gen Z population, who's right now like started to live by themselves and work. I think they definitely face a lot of like life challenge of living by themselves, and I can see a large total addressable market there for them to try on new technology. And the second segmentation is family. They also will need a lot of like effort to do the chores or chores, and home robotics can help them a lot, especially if the family is if the house is kind of like big and they need a lot of cleaning. But I would say for this segmentation, it's a little bit harder for them to spend or to try out new technology. And the third and fourth segmentation would be elderly and people with disability or in terms of mobility. So that for these two type of user segment, they kind of like struggle with living in the home setting, even in the home setting. So they face a lot of difficulty, but I wouldn't prioritize solving problem for these population because I would say the risks here are pretty high. And we have the risk in terms of like how the people will interact with home robotics and also the compliance issue. So I think they can benefit a lot from home robotics, but not the current try. So overall, I will use the criteria of total addressable market and the willingness to try out new technology to consider who I want to prioritize. And as a result, I want to prioritize the individual Gen Z people. And if that makes sense, I'll just go through there's some of their pain point in their life and think about how I can serve them.
I have one question.
Mhm.
Do you think there is a potential path to maybe start targeting like disability and elderly people to start with? Um, because if you imagine like new technology like Neuralink, they don't start from people who are very open to new technology, but they are they started from people who have to have it. So what do you think about that?
I think that's actually a good point, and I definitely see a path over there to have home robotics serve these two population. And like you said, like the criteria of emergency is also important when we develop like new technology, and especially when we think about like what technology will change the world. So yeah, I would be very open to like choose one of them to start with, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Just one thought for you to think about, not necessarily change your direction originally.
Okay. I think I see a pass if I choose the like elderly as a target user, because I just realized that these two populations are not usually the decision maker of the new technology purchase. So usually it's their family member or caretaker who want to purchase new technology for them. So yeah, I want to correct myself earlier that the willingness to try new technology is like a little bit nuanced here. So yeah, I want to pivot to choosing elderly as the primary user tech persona.
Okay.
I just want to share my thought on how the elderly can face some pain point or difficulty when they are in the like home living setting. So there are actually a like wide range of difficulty they can experience. But I want to prioritize talking about 3 points. The first is their difficulty or like lack of motivation to cook good things for themselves. This is purely from my experience, but I know like it's shared by a lot of like grandparents of my friend. So they usually just kind of like they don't have like strong motivation to cook good and nutritional meal for themselves. And sometimes they just like they don't want to like seriously treat their meal as an important thing. But actually it is an important thing for them, especially because they are elderly and they need to be supplemented by certain nutrition. Or if they have like certain like long-term disease, they may need like special nutrition consideration when they cook. And a lot of family don't think this is like very serious issue, so they don't hire a chef for their like elderly the grandparents. So that caused a problem of like the low quality meal they cook for themselves and lack of nutrition. And the second pain point that I can think about is like the inability to react to medical emergency in timely. That happened when my grandpa like has his seizure at home. So like my grandma was so panicked and it really a hard time for her to like pick up the phone and told my family that my grandpa is experiencing emergency. So I think that's and also like very serious pain point. And the third pain point is daily chores that kind of require a lot of like human labor or like, a lot of physical activities. But most of the elderly, especially who's like above 75, experience hard time doing that. Um, and among those pain points, do you have anything that you want me to like focus on, or I can also prioritize based on my criteria?
Yeah, feel free to choose one based on your criteria.
Okay, sounds great. I will prioritize based on the depth of pain and also the confidence that I think I can solve. So the conclusion is I want to prioritize the first, which is the low quality meal they cook for themselves. This is because I think the depth of pain of this is very like very deep, and actually very harmful and kind of it's easy to be neglected by family. And I have like a higher confidence to solve this pain point because I think there are a lot of space that artificial intelligence can play a role in, like doing a nutritional combination of meal and direct the home cooker machine and to cook. So I see a lot of like space for innovation there. For the medical emergency, I just want to say I have really, really low confidence because I know a lot of like medical tech company were investing a lot in the specific technology that can detect seizure or detect that emergency. So I think I would not compete in that space. And in terms of daily chores, it has relatively lower, like smaller depth of pain. So I'll just choose the first one to prioritize. Okay. And I'll take a few moments to brainstorm some solution for that. And I want to say that my overall solution would not be like several options to choose. I want to kind of brainstorm a larger system that can support this or like to solve this pain point. And I will share some of my thought on how I will phase out the different stage of this product, like the MVP, short term and long term. So yeah, just to clarify. Yeah, I'm excited to share my solution about this to solve this pain point. So overall, I want to develop a home nutrition or food system that can serve elderly with the purpose of nutrition consideration and also like safety. So I'll take these two principles as like a as a guideline when I think about my solution. And overall, I think my system will be composed of several components. The first is an app that can let you input a lot of personal data and monitor the activity the home robotics are doing. And the second is the most important robotics part is the cooker. And instead of letting so right now the cooker are kind of like just the processor. But in my system, the cooker will not only be the processor, but also like actively select product from your refrigerator and from your like shelf to cook, and you don't have to support a cooker. And the third component is a connected appliance like refrigerator that can let the cooker know or let the app know like what is inside the refrigerator and then what is like going to be expired. I know like a lot of elderly love to like neglect the expiration date. They just want to save the food. So I think this is also an important element. And in the how essentially how it worked is that through the app, the elderly or the family member can see an intelligent combination that's generated by AI about like what they should eat in the next like 3 days or 5 days. And if they approve this plan, the cooker is gonna like cook at the certain set time and selecting the material you need from the refrigerator. And then the refrigerator is also gonna report like the different status of food inside the refrigerator and also the shelf. So that three component like make the whole system run in a cycle of like serving food for elderly. And I just want to share about what I think is the most important thing to launch when we think about the MVP. So the MVP, in terms of the MVP, I think the most important thing is to develop this cooker that can actually cook, and also the app that can process and take input from the human side and process those information and deliver that to the cooker. So essentially, at the very beginning stage of MVP, what the system can do is just you approve the meal combination, and it can like cook for you. And sometimes you may need to like feed the cooker with some material and condiment because the appliance is not developed for yet. And in the short term or like a midterm, I will include the connected appliance if that idea is tested turned out to be successful from the MVP stage, so that I know like people actually want the help from the cooker and we can better enhance its functioning by providing the connected appliance. And in the long term, I think that system can be further connected to the external world. For example, if the refrigerator detected there's like a lack of food or lack of material, it can actually just Uber Eats some like grocery from online, and that can like directly serve to your home so that you don't have to like examine what food are there. Especially as elderly, it's really hard for them to determine like what to eat and like what should I buy for the next meal. And connecting that service as an is an example of like how it can better connect it to the external world. And yeah, do you have any questions?
So if you're saying that like eventually you want to connect with the outside world, why don't the elderly just order Uber Eats today?
Um, by raised, like I think, let me just clarify your question. So you mean like if the job they're doing is like raised, like why they are not doing today, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the primary reason is that I the job they are hired to done is not just Uber Eats. It's the job of differentiating the status of different food and what you need for your next meal and what to choose from the grocery store. So that's actually a lot of mental work, like cognitive effort. And some elderly kind of struggle to do it or done it in a like very low quality way because sometimes they may neglect like what the food expiration date and they don't think they need to supplement the new food in their refrigerator. And sometimes they may suddenly feel like, oh, my refrigerator is empty. What do I do? So I think right now the system is right now they can do it themselves, but my system will help them to like save a lot of mental work and notice something they hardly notice in their food system at home.
Let me rephrase my question again. So let's say that is the case, right? Then why do you prioritize cooking for the elderly over than like ordering directly for elderly people from Uber Eats or other platform? Like you can still integrate that function to your robot as a goal for the elderly, right? To like order healthy food on their platform. Why do you prioritize cooking over ordering?
Oh, okay, got it. Let me just think for a moment. So I think the question you're asking is that like because like if I'm doing a home robotics, like smart home robotics, why am I prioritizing cooking instead of ordering?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the first I want to clarify that the ordering feature will be a like long-term add-on of the overall system, which means that it's like a good to have feature in the future that make the product like better serve people. But this is not the core thing that they are this is not a value proposition or like the core advantage it can provide to people. It's just a way that provide a more like smoother way for the user to interact with a core product, which is like the cooking experience. And why I'm still like prioritizing cooking, the reason is that I think the firstly like cooking is like more like a riskier uh activity for elderly compared to ordering because they have to like cook, they have to use the fire, they have to cut by themselves if they are doing them by themselves. So I think if the robotics can take that part of job done, it will be more beneficial and like serve the more urgent need for this situation. And second is because like I said, like there are a lot of space that AI can play a role into hugely advance the like nutritional combination. So I think by combining that layer to this physical product, it can like serve more directly what the elderly need compared to the ordering.
Okay.
Um, yeah, if that sounds great, do you want me to walk through some like metrics that I will measure, or are there any? Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
I think there are a lot of ways that we can measure the success. The first bucket is like adoption, which means like if people are really willing to try this product. And that can be just measured by the number of purchase when we launch the MVP in the first month. And relevantly, there are also like business metrics we can track, which is the revenue, that like how many revenue is generated based on the first month purchase. And there are also a second bucket of metric, which is like engagement, that can measure the success. That means like after the user purchase the product, like how engaged are they? And that can be measured by weekly active user and the rate of using the product out of like doing it on by a human. And yeah, and finally, there are also like some guardrail metrics that we should be aware of, especially for launching an MVP. The first one can be like the support rate or like the support complaint rate. That means like how many people call the support or have like where like how many people are confused by this product and they don't know how to use it. And that can also be measured by like refunded rate because this is a physical product and we really want to measure people willingness to pay this physical product. And overall, I think the most important North Star metric would be the rate of using this in 1 week, the rate of using this product out of the overall like 21 meals in a week to see if this product is actually functioning and playing a role in their life.
Do you have anything else to add?
Um, I don't.
Okay. How do you think about your overall answer?
Honestly, I I really don't know because I am not familiar with this type of question. And then I don't know the criteria for this type of question. Like, should I be so futuristic or should I be like a lot more grounded based on the current situation? Because like we're shifting between the future and now when we design the new product. So yeah, I am unsure about that part. And I also think there are a lot of ambiguity in for this type of product design. Like you say, like the ordering and cooking priorities and also before like different for different demographic or different user segmentation, like what should I prioritize? So I think a lot of ambiguity can be better from answer from my side by having a like a deeper thought process, but I don't know. I'm like super unsure about this one.
Mm. Usually, the style from Google product management interview is like they ask you very moonshot questions and they ask you very vague questions and they expect you to still answer the question in a very logical way, like solve this problem like this problem actually exists. So I do, honestly like from my point of view, I really like Google style questions because they allow you to have this opportunity to brainstorm on a bunch of questions that you normally won't think about. Maybe after you join Google, you're still thinking about how to design this button to let people click on this button more. Other than like you think about three technology that will change the world. But it is just a good opportunity for you to brainstorm. Overall, I like your answer. I really, really love your communication. It's very clear, precise. You have bullet points. You always have one, two, three to make it very easy for me to follow. And you have a great sense of humor to connect with the interviewer. That's a huge plus. And your answer is very structured and organized. So I could see why you got an offer from Salesforce. There are a bunch of um, feedback I have to help you further improve your answer. The first one, let's focus on the first question. We talk about tell me three technology that you think will change the world and why, right? I think you kind of subscribe me a little bit when you talk about like changing the world as in like people will be laid off and is actually negatively changing the world than positively. And also you talk about like for example multi-platform or system memory system you are thinking about like requiring a huge amount of energy which is also a way to change the world. Uh, that's kind of fun to be surprised in an interview. But it also tells me that you should have defined what do we mean by change the world, right? So I think you asked what is the time frame that we are looking for, right? Whether we are talking about the next 10 years or so. Um, but it will be very helpful to say like, what do you mean by changing the world, right? Do we measure by the total addressable market, meaning that most of the people on this planet will be finding this technology helpful, or we're talking about like economic opportunities, financial opportunities, job opportunities, or from energy level, we have to maybe transform another industry or multiple industries, right? So it will be easier for you to answer this question if you start from the beginning to define what do we mean by changing the world. Another thing, I think this is me guessing what the preferences from Google interviewer, because Google is a very engineering-driven culture, and also when you talk with product managers from Google, you kind of like have this fresh mind of like they always keep an eye on what is happening in the technology world, which is like very refreshing because as you like work on your job for like long enough, you kind of forget about what is out there. But Google product manager or Google as a company always keep on track about like what is going on the outside, which also tells you that they probably focus a lot on technology.
Mm.
So when you talk about the three bullet point, you were saying that, for example, the home robots or like the memory system or the wearable glasses, you're talking about like especially the first one, the third one, you're talking about product instead of technology,
Mm.
right? So it will be a way better structure if you answer this question, like, for example, like the robotics industry right now have multiple blockers, right? The biggest blocker they have is how can they design the hand, a flexible hand as a human hand, right? The hand is the most complicated component on the humanoid robotics, right? Robot right now, and that has been blocking most of the companies out there, right? So you talk about for the first one, we're just saying that this technology isn't a blocker anymore, right? We have been like managed this technology so well that we can design a hand that is more flexible, smarter than the human hand. So
Mm.
that tells the interviewer that you keep track of these like hot areas in the like technology world, right? So you know what are the challenges in multiple in the products. Or if you were talking about wearable glasses, you could talk about like for example, of course, I'm gonna cut this out since I'm a Meta employee now. You can talk about that the wearable glasses today have a bad connectivity, right? But you could also talk about, well, there are maybe multiple blockers out there. One of the blockers is how can you interact with the glasses in a more like interactive way, right? You're not only talking about like voices. Now you can use your gestures as well if you have the wristband, or like you could probably interact with your eyebrows, balls, right? So, um, like all of these are the technical blockers. And if you start from the technology and then talk about the product and use case, um, it will like match with the question better.
Mm. Got it.
And Google product manager love you to be more technical, and Google is a very engineering driven culture. So that is why I suggest you to use like this framework instead. And also having a global view is very important. You can't just talk about, oh, I will find this use case very helpful. That's a red flag. You have to say that, oh, 1 billion user in Africa will find this technology pretty helpful. So that is, when you interview a position from a global company. Um,
Mm.
and also, you can't ask me whether you want to change the world positively or negatively because Google said don't do evil. So you have to say that there are 1,000 ways to change the world, and I prefer to have a positive impact on this planet because I agree with Google don't do evil, right? So, yeah, that's kind of like a funny feedback. And then moving on to our second question about designing a product using one of these technologies. Um, in your guidance from Google, they were talking about they wanted to look at your strategic thinking, right? Product analytics is fine. Product analytics, like how do you prioritize? How do you keep track on the metrics? Those parts I'm more confident like on you solving the problem yourself. What do you mean by strategic thinking, right? If you are talking about now you're a startup founder doing a robotics company, and with the technology that is already not a blocker for you, but still a blocker for other companies, right? Then you probably want to talk about your competitors. You probably want to talk about this industry as a whole, where this industry is going right now, right? So, different companies have different advantages or disadvantages, right? For example, like Tesla, they have the advantage of they already have the factories building cars right now, right? They have a pretty good supply chain that they have been building like for decades to help support their cars. So that is one of their advantage. Some other companies might have a better algorithm or better like product design. I don't know, but if you have a more holistic view of what is going on in the industry, that would be very helpful. Um, you mentioned elderly want to save food and ignore expiration date. That is a very good evidence of you showing your user empathy. So for this type of product sense question, you want to have this um, like this like little evidence, for you to show that you have user empathy. Because from the interviewer side, I basically just have a checklist. So when I see you like showing me that, then I can check on your user empathy, right? You could have shown more as well. For example, today, one of the biggest problem of a robot, you can watch a lot of YouTube videos out there when, let's say, 1X, that startup launched their Neo robot last week or the week before that. There's so many videos talking about trust issue, right? Elderly will also have trust issue. For example, it doesn't really matter how rich the elderly is, right? Even like a famous actor like Chandler will still have trust issue with his own staff, right? So trust issue is a thing, is a big thing in robots. So like a lot of YouTube videos out there were discussing how can you make sure that the robot will not grab a knife and kill me when I'm sleeping. Right? So you have to talk about that. And also, one of the ways for you to like improve your user empathy or like have an opportunity for you to talk about more detailed psychology is to analyze what are the old people doing today, right? Are they cooking for themselves or are they ordering? Like, do they have their staffs cooking for them? Like, what are the existing problems, right? You kind of like assume that they're cooking for themselves, which this assumption is limiting you in a specific demographics. Those old people cooking for themselves is an indicator of they're not super rich people, right? They're more like middle class or working class. And you talking about elderly ignoring the expiration date also proves that they're not even upper middle class. They're more like lower middle class or working class, right? Or they're like under poverty line. Who are you targeting? You can't just like think about elderly as a group of people that have the same requirements, right?
Mhm.
If you're talking about middle class to even like lower, let's say under poverty line, then how can they even afford a robot, right? You also mentioned in your answer that if people are in like inviting like cleaners or professionals to cook for them, it is very expensive, right? But the ultra rich will not think it as an expensive thing. People like us will think it is an expensive thing, right? So you want to think about who are you targeting in terms of income level and also education level. Um, and what else? Oh, the last one. I asked you about why do you prioritize cooking over ordering, and I don't think you answered this question well. I understand you want to design the feature as an add-on, but my question is why? Like, let's imagine, right? If you, let's say, um, you have to say it in a way, let's say, let's just follow your thinking process, right? You can tell me that your assumption is for, let's say we want to do an affordable robot. We don't want the robot to like cost you 20K dollars, right? You want this robot to be like $2,000 maximum, right? You can use the same price to buy an iPhone. You can buy a robot to that can cook for you at home, right? So if you define a robot as that pricing level, then you could talk about for most of the elderly in this category, they would rather to cook for themselves, right? Because they have the habit of like pre Uber Eats time, right? So they're still not ha developing a habit of like ordering everything from DoorDash and Uber Eats. That I could buy it. Um, or you could also say that it is a like way healthier way, right? Because you kind of don't have like the surveillance on what are the ingredients that different restaurants use, whether they're legit restaurants. You probably want to like really, if you are like a health nerd, you want to really look into like how they cook, what they cook. That also work. Or you could talk about like whether like for example, like if the Uber Eats today, the problem they already having about like people are confused about how to deliver that Uber Eats to people. And for elderly, they will be having the same issue as well. And a lot of, let's say, dashers do not even speak English, right? Then us as young people might understand it, and we can understand that the other side is speaking Spanish in the United States, and we could like speak English for the platform to translate. But for like elderly, they probably don't understand that. And when they receive a phone call and the other person was like speaking poor English, the old person will be like, what is going on? Right? So there will be a lot of gap in this type of scenario that you could use as evidence to fight me back. Otherwise, I will have a follow-up question asking if all of this problem is just to make sure that the elderly is eating healthy food while ordering, then do you imagine this as an add-on feature for Uber Eats or that DoorDash, right? They could have done that on the platform if you were saying that is the core problem that the elderly trying to solve. So, uh, how you answer this question is not very supportive.
I guess I misunderstood your like the question itself. Um, yeah, I think like I was confused a bit, like why are you asking this? Because like I say this is an add-on, but yeah, I'm not clear.
Yeah, it happens all the time in interviews. And a lot of times the interviewer just like focus too much on how they think and they do not ask the question clearly. Just ask follow-up questions to make sure that the interviewer explain themselves clearly.
Mhm.
I had this experience when I interview some companies. Um, the other interviewer is very experienced. So I kind of like show my confused face when she asked me that question, and then she noticed that she wasn't explaining this well, and she explained it further.
Mhm.
That will be like very experienced interviewer, but you cannot expect all the interviewers to be that experienced. So you have to like proactively ask questions.
Okay, got it.
Any other questions?
Um, like one more question for the elderly further segmentation. So you said like kind of have to like target specific demographic, um, or like more detailed segmentation would be helpful. Um, I'm just wondering, would that like limit my like addressable market? And do I actually have time to talk more about like the income level and pricing? Because I know like the overall interview is like 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Usually I don't do like second layer of demographics like segmentation. Like that would take you too much time. So what you want to do is, for example, after your prioritization and you want to focus on elderly, you just kind of like talk about, oh, okay, we are a new startup, right? And robotics is kind of like what is happening right now, and nobody buy robots. So we have to have a good segment to enter the market. And so you like narrow it down to a specific demographics. So you don't do all the like complicated segmentation and like why you choose what you choose type of questions.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that's all my question. Thank you so much.
Any questions from the audience about this interview or like feedback for Charlyne? If she get an offer from Google, she will thank all of you guys for the contribution.
Yeah, if not, I would still be appreciating.
Any question once? Any question twice? Okay, if no further questions, I will see you guys tomorrow.